Unprecedented scenes were witnessed in the Indian Parliament after opposition leader Rahul Gandhi hugged Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Congress president was speaking in the Lok Sabha during the debate on no confidence motion. After he completed his speech, Gandhi went up to the Prime Minister and hugged him.
आपके अंदर मेरे लिए नफरत है, आपके अंदर मेरे लिए गुस्सा है, आपके लिए मैं पप्पू हूँ, आपके लिए मैं अलग अलग गाली दे सकते हो, मगर मेरे अंदर आपके खिलाफ इतना सा भी गुस्सा, इतना सा भी क्रोध, इतनी सी भी नफरत नहीं है। मैं कांग्रेस हूँ और ये सब कांग्रेस हैं, और कांग्रेस ने और इस भावना ने इस देश को बनाया है। इस बात को आप कभी मत भूलिए, और ये भावना आप सबके अंदर है, और इस भावना को मैं आप सबके अंदर से निकालूंगा। एक एक करके मैं आपके अंदर जो प्यार है उसको निकालूंगा और आप सबको कांग्रेस में बदलूंगा। धन्यवाद, नमस्कार।
यस निर्मला जी। This is not necessary. No. Nirmala ji. Nirmala ji wants to say something.
We listen to the excerpts from the fiery speech which Rahul Gandhi made before this bonhomie, before he hugged the Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Prime Minister must explain, and he must answer in this House, whether the Cabinet Committee for Security took this decision or not. The Prime Minister must also explain why this contract was taken away from HAL and the youngsters of Karnataka and given to a businessman who had a debt of 35,000 crores and has never ever built an aeroplane in his life. Now these are the things that the Prime Minister of India must explain. He must explain why a businessman has been favored. किसान कहता है, प्रधानमंत्री जी आपने 2.5 लाख करोड़ रुपए हिंदुस्तान के सबसे अमीर 20-25 उद्योगपतियों का माफ किया, कर्जा माफ किया। प्रधानमंत्री जी, हिंदुस्तान का किसान कहता है माफ आपने उनका किया, हाथ जोड़ के आपसे कहता है हमारा भी थोड़ा सा माफ कर दीजिए। और फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर कहते हैं नहीं 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 नहीं, किसान का कर्जा माफ नहीं होगा, सबसे बड़े उद्योगपतियों का होगा, किसान का नहीं होगा, क्योंकि तुम लोगों में शक्ति नहीं है, तुम लोगों में दम नहीं है, तुम लोग सूट नहीं पहनते, बूट नहीं पहनते। प्रधानमंत्री जी ने चाइना के राष्ट्रपति के साथ गुजरात में नदी के किनारे झूला झूला था। उसके बाद उसी समय चाइना के 1000 सैनिक हिंदुस्तान की टेरिटरी के अंदर थे। उसके बाद चाइना का राष्ट्रपति वापस गया, चाइना का राष्ट्रपति वापस जाता है और अपनी सेना को ढोकलाम में डालता है। हमारे सैनिकों ने अपनी शक्ति दिखाई, ठहरिए, हमारे सैनिकों ने अपनी शक्ति दिखाई और वो चाइना के सामने खड़े हुए। ये भी मगर उसी के कुछ दिन बाद प्रधानमंत्री जी चाइना जाते हैं और बिना एजेंडा के WION में चाइना के सामने कहते हैं कि बिना एजेंडा बात होगी, डोकलाम को हम यहां नहीं उठाएंगे।
The no trust motion was moved by Telugu Desam Party and backed by other opposition parties. Voting on the no confidence motion will take later today. It is a big test for the Modi government. The BJP has nothing to fear as it has the numbers in the lower house. In a house of 535 members, BJP alone has 273 seats, and if numbers of its allies are to be added, it will cross 300 mark. To pass the floor test, though, it requires 268 votes. A lot has happened since Helsinki summit. US President Donald Trump landed himself in a major controversy after his statement on Russia's interference in the 2016 US presidential election, followed by various flip-flops by Trump himself and the White House in a bid to contain the damage after a public furor. Trump has now vowed that if his dealings with the Russian leader Vladimir Putin does not work out, he would be the worst enemy Putin has ever had.
Getting along with President Putin, getting along with Russia is a positive, not a negative. Right. Now, with that being said, if that doesn't work out, I'll be the worst enemy he's ever had. The worst he's ever had.
Trump plans to invite Vladimir Putin to Washington, D.C. for a second meeting. White House spokesperson Sarah Sanders tweeted confirming the same. She said, and I quote, "In Helsinki, President agreed to ongoing working-level dialogue between the two Security Council staffs. President Trump asked John Bolton to invite President Putin to Washington in the fall, and those discussions are already underway," unquote. Meanwhile, the Russian ambassador to the United States said that the issue between Russia and US must be calmly discussed. And let's go across to Lucy Taylor, our correspondent from Moscow. Lucy, good evening. The issue is, now the reports are coming that there will be a meeting this autumn between Putin and Trump. What are the details which are coming from Moscow on this issue?
Well, earlier today we heard from Russia's ambassador to the US, normally based in Washington, of course, but at the moment he's in Moscow. He had a special meeting with Vladimir Putin yesterday, along with all the other ambassadors from around the world. And he spoke this morning to journalists, that's the ambassador, Anatoly Antonov. He said he didn't confirm any more details about that meeting, the next meeting between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. We heard on Thursday that Donald Trump had invited Vladimir Putin to the White House. It would be his first official visit to the United States since 2007, so a fairly big deal. But Mr. Antonov said that he hadn't seen any official invitation yet, so it sounds as though the formal invitation hasn't been issued yet, according to him. He said that Russia would be open to a further meeting later this year, but that the Kremlin would ultimately decide whether Mr. Putin will attend or not. He said that he thought that Russia would want to digest the results of this week's meeting in Helsinki before agreeing to any more meetings. He said that the answer to better dialogue isn't always just to multiply the number of summits, but to make sure that they are prepared for very carefully and organised very carefully. So it's by no means a done deal that Mr. Putin will visit Mr. Trump in the White House later this year, but I would say from Russia's perspective it's probably fairly likely. I don't think that Mr. Putin has much to lose from that visit.
You see, when it comes to Washington, there's a domestic opinion in America that the meeting should not take place, and the former national security advisors or the head of the Joint Intelligence Committee, people are opposed to this meeting. Domestically in Russia, what is the opinion on this proposed meeting?
Well, people here in Russia are cautiously optimistic about relations between Russia and the US. They have said that they feel that relations recently have been deteriorating. There has not been as much contact as was needed between the two sides. They regret that there were no formal summits between President Obama and President Putin, for example. Of course, part of the reason for that is because of some of Russia's behaviour over the last few years, not just the alleged election interference, but also, for example, Russia's actions in Ukraine and the Crimea region, which was annexed by Russia from Ukraine, for example, or they would say reunified here in Russia, which the US stood very firmly against. And there have been sanctions on Russia from the US and the European Union over since 2014. And then even as recently as March this year, when there was the attack on the former spy Sergei Skripal in the United Kingdom, and then that huge diplomatic row where Russian diplomats were expelled from the US and other European and other Western countries in huge numbers. So relations have been deteriorating, that's for sure, and Russia would blame the West for that. But I think many of those Western countries would say that is because of Russia's behaviour over the last few years. Nonetheless, Russia is now particularly pleased, I think, to see that relations could be back on track, to see that there is this apparent special relationship between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, which is fairly unprecedented.
After 7 months of being missing under mysterious conditions, a Pakistani peace activist, Raza Mahmood Khan, has finally been found. Though the motive behind his abduction has still not been ascertained, a quick look at Raza's profession is enough to give the rest of the world an evidence of Pakistan's dark underbelly. So, why was Raza, who is an active member of Lahore Civil Society and an activist of Agaz-e-Dosti, an organization that promotes friendly relations between people of Pakistan and India, abducted? The answer comes as no surprise, because the deep state in Pakistan does not favour anyone who promotes friendly relations between the two countries or questions their authority. Recently, Pakistan's Supreme Court took the country's security apparatus to task for hundreds of missing person cases that remain unresolved in the country. At least 1,500 cases of enforced disappearances remain pending with a government investigative commission. Hundreds of those people are being held in a military-operated internment camps. Pakistani law allows authorities to hold suspects without charge indefinitely across the country's northwest regions. Several social media activists who have been critical of the country's powerful military have gone missing in recent months. Earlier this year, WION's Pakistan's Bureau Chief Adil Siddiqui narrowly survived an abduction attempt. Siddiqui was pulled out of a car by 10 to 12 people while on his way to the airport. He was robbed of all his belongings, including his phone and passport. Nadia Chaudhry, a British Pakistani and worker of Imran Khan's party, had said that she feared for her life for holding evidence against certain party leaders. She had provided proof against Nawaz Sharif in Evanfield case, and that the Pakistani army and ISI officials were hounding her ever since. Now, Nadia Chaudhry, who had said that her life was in danger, has gone missing even after all these incidents. Pakistan's military and intelligence service continue to deny any connection to the disappearances.
Today, ISI and the army sent a guy to be in my house, under my bed, to steal my phones. I helped them. I helped PTI, and I helped the Pakistan Army and ISI. And now you can see all these people are here, and they're going to make me disappear. So this may be the last time I'm seeing my family or my family seeing me.
And let me go across to my correspondent Adil Siddiqui from Paris. Taha, you know, this is not the first time that the journalists or the activists are being harassed. So what's the big story here? Is it the fact that the civilian institutions cannot assert themselves in front of the deep state army?
Well, basically, I mean, we've seen that, you know, the problem of the enforced disappearances started from Balochistan, and we saw how in Balochistan there were people being picked up. It was a policy of the military. And then later on, we saw that this policy of enforced disappearances has spread across Pakistan. It is being practiced in the tribal belt. It is being practiced in Punjab. And with the recent case of Raza Khan, who was picked up from Lahore. So definitely the military is involved in this, and that definitely the military is involved in this. And then even the courts have ordered the many times, multiple times, military officials to come up with explanations, because there are proofs that have been given, or eyewitness accounts that have been given, in which there are clear evidences that the military was involved in these things. But despite that, it seems like that the military operates above the law and cannot be held questionable or accountable, and carries out these activities. And it usually the people who disappear earlier on, we were told that they were involved in insurgency or they were involved in militancy. But now we're seeing even that dissidents, people who have a different point of view, they even get kidnapped.
And now on to an interview of a man, a biopic on whom has made waves in the Hindi cinema. Yes, I'm talking about Indian film star Sanjay Dutt. Versatile, controversial, but yet always in news. The movie Sanju, based on his alleged involvement in 1993 Mumbai serial blast, takes the viewers to the flamboyant life and time of Sanjay Dutt. I sat down with the star and had a freewheeling chat with him. Listen in.
Sanjay is a runaway success. Why do you think audience has appreciated this film so much?
Well, I feel that my story had to be told, and the honest story. It wasn't something which I wanted to hide or say anything. I think they found that honesty in it, and that's what they appreciated. I think is that I have been honest. Every bit of that movie is honesty, and I think that's the reason that it's people have loved it.
Critics also said that, there is some whitewashing which has happened. There are certain parts of your life which are not there.
See, I'll tell you one thing. Whitewashing has already happened in '95 when I came out from jail, and Khalnaik was the biggest hit. So, I mean, the people accepted it. They knew that this guy is not a terrorist. They knew from what family I came. That is the reason Khalnaik became a hit. Secondly, Munna Bhai happened. So I didn't need a Sanju to whitewash my image. And I mean, who's going to spend 40 crores on whitewashing somebody's image, It's a lot of money. So मेरा तो already सही हो गया था. Munna Bhai se, Khalnaik se. The verdict of the people is important.
Sanjay, audience has loved the movie on your life. But would you like to live this life again?
No, I won't like to live this life again, but I don't complain about it also. Because, I mean, I've learnt a lot from it. I've learnt, and I want to tell the youth of this country a few things which are there in the film. It's about drugs, it's about the law of the land. It's about not taking brash decisions. So many things, I mean, which is important, but I would not live this life again, yes.
Catch the entire interview with Sanjay Dutt on WION tonight at 10:30 p.m. India. That is 1700 GMT.